Welcome to the Daily Market Recap, a detailed review of the market structure and the key support and resistance levels for the S&P 500 E-mini. Today is Monday, December 16th, 2013. Last week, the S&P 500 sold down from its multi-year high at 1812. The sell-off from the multi-year high was a 46-point decline before the selling pressure paused on Thursday down at or near 1765. At the end of the week, there were two minor retracements, 11 and 10 points, and the S&P auctioned up to 1778. On Friday, the S&P failed to retest the minor high at 1778 and sold off into the close, trading modestly above the recent low. At the open of Sunday's Globex session, the S&P broke down below Thursday and Friday's low and auctioned down to 1754, 58 points below the retest at the multi-year high. The breakdown below Friday's low during Sunday's Globex session correlated with negative economic data coming out of China, indicating that manufacturing production had contracted. Following the sell-off, the market consolidated at the low, and at the open of the European session, the S&P auctioned back above Friday's low and short covered through Thursday and Friday's trading range. S&P futures auctioned up at or near our resistance target at 1784, trading up to 1786 before pulling back to retest the prior two-day high at or near 1778. During the rally, which started at the open, there was statistical high volume observed in the volume at price data as the S&P auctioned up to 1783 and 1785. The statistical high volume was most prominent at the 1785 price level, where 23 and 22,000 contracts traded respectively. When the S&P pulled back to initially retest the 1778 price level, the market auctioned back up to 1783 but failed to retest the opening range high. S&P futures sold back down to the opening range low into the close. Looking at the recent frequency distribution chart, we see there are several clusters of trade activity that developed following the recent sell-off. Above today's trading range, there are two supply clusters. The next resistance level above today's high is located up at 1792 and above there at 1802. The price action that developed during today's session would typically deem the lower trade cluster a demand cluster. However, during Friday's session, we did not see demand develop in this portion of the trading range. As mentioned earlier, the S&P closed at the low and then sold lower in the Globex session. The cluster formation occurred as a result of the short covering rally through Thursday and Friday's trading range. Thus, should the S&P auction below 1777, 1778, the lows established at today's open, price could easily auction back through the trading range and auction down to Thursday and Friday's low at 1766. Increased selling pressure could result in the S&P auctioning back down to Sunday's Globex low at 1754. Coming into Tuesday's session, should support hold at today's low, we would expect to see a retest of the high up at 1784, 1786, with the potential for the market to auction above today's high and rally up to the next resistance level at or near 1792, 1794. That concludes our recap for the S&P 500 E-mini. If you would like to follow our real-time commentary, we invite you to visit us online at www.followthebots.com. Log on and join us some morning at the open.